Grab your drink, grab your little nosh, and let's get started. How you doing? Well, when I hear you respond, that's when I know you're paying attention. Hello and congratulations. How are you doing this evening? All right. Are you liking the Fiddler Club? I hope so. Well, I want to officially welcome you to the Philadelphia Bar Foundation's Access to Justice Awards celebration. Can we give a round of applause to the Philadelphia Bar Association for this? Foundation, should I say, foundation. So I'm gonna give everybody a moment to finish up their conversation so we can get started. I am very nice. And so if you could finish those last couple words, give that last hug so we can go ahead and get started. And I promise we are going to keep things moving tonight, all right? If you hear me, you can give me another clap. Thank you. So I'm Cherry Gregg. I'll be your MC for this evening. I'm one of the afternoon drive anchors for WHYY Radio. I'm also the co-host of a brand new show called Studio 2. It airs Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at noon. I co-host alongside Avi Wolfman-Arent. I hope you check it out. So I'm also an attorney, and I've covered civil rights for many years. And I'm really proud to be here with you this evening because all of you and the critical work and services that you provide to the Philadelphia communities ought to be celebrated, and that's here. That's what we'll be doing tonight. So before we begin, I would like to ask that you join me in a moment of silence for a true trailblazer in the Philadelphia legal community and beyond. We've lost a beloved friend, mentor, leader, and legal scholar when Joanne Epps, president of Temple University, passed away suddenly on September 19th of this year. Although we miss her greatly, her presence can be felt here this evening. Please join me in this moment of silence. Thank you for that. So tonight, we will hear tributes in support of the Philadelphia Bar Foundation's 2023 award recipients. Through these tributes, we will learn more about the critical impact of pro bono and public interest work performed in our community. One thing that we learned over the past few years is that civil rights matter, justice matters, and with professionals like you standing by, it can be achieved. There are so many worthy individuals and groups in our region working every day to deliver on the promise of justice for all. So we'll celebrate tonight the entire legal and community, civil legal aid and community and the pro bono work of lawyers throughout this region. So tonight's honorees, Professor Seth Kramer. Yes. Seth will be this year's Philadelphia Bar Foundation Award honoree, as well as the law firm of Holland & Knight, which will be lauded for its work offering pro bono support for Afghanistan refugees following the end of America's military engagement in the area. Can we give Holland & Knight a round of applause? So we're gonna have fun tonight, right? Everybody wanna have fun? Do I have to pump y'all up for fun? Because I can do that. Maybe I'll do that a little later. So, but this is also a fundraiser. So I want to talk about the need for all of us to support civil legal services in Philadelphia. For a lot of us, having a lawyer when you need one is a privilege. And there are so many people who cannot afford representation in times of legal emergency, including more than 100,000 children who live in poverty and do not have the money to hire someone. So every year, the Philadelphia Bar Foundation provides unrestricted grants to nearly 40 nonprofit organizations that provide critical services to support survivors of domestic violence. They help people at risk of losing their homes. They advocate for seniors in need of legal protection and assist many others who need help getting access to services or in finding robust legal representation. As a journalist, I have referred so many people to your organizations. They'll call me and say, Cherry, can you do this story? And I'm like, honey, you need a lawyer. Call Community Legal Services, call the Senior Law Center, call this number. And so thank you to everyone in here who picks up the phone and provides that assistance. Please give yourself a round of applause. And that literally happens a lot, more than I can say to you. So are you ready for the award celebration? So I want you to repeat after me, because I need to wake you lawyers up, okay? Tonight is a good night to celebrate some good lawyering. Oh, see, when I said good lawyering, y'all all got louder. I like that. Now, to help us kick off this evening, I'm pleased to welcome Philadelphia Bar Foundation's own celebrated poet, Mary Mance, to the podium. And some of you, now y'all may know Mary from her role as programs and development lead for the foundation, but I did not know this. Mary is also a professional traveling spoken word artist who has been featured in the Philadelphia Inquirer and in venues throughout our region. Please give Mary a warm welcome.
This is an ode to Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, the city that has shown me motherly love when I need it, community everywhere I go, even if I can't see it. Philadelphia. Got so much heart you might hear an eagle cry. As it flies over, it might see the Phillies fly. Never seen a city flyer. Although every part of Philadelphia ain't pretty, there is beauty spread from Kensington to Center City. From the Boulevard to Market Street to Cecil B. Moore, cobblestone streets and old trolley tracks remind me history is stored here. Remind me that this country was quite literally born here. How amazing is it to be standing in history? Something about this city just blooms differently. This community comes together to fight the good fight, making sure everyone has equal access to their rights and civil liberties. When we come together, the possibilities are endless. We make sense to the senseless and get people to listen. Every day we make these choices, raise our voices and hands for those who are voiceless, and we do this on purpose, with purpose. Doing so much under the surface, the Bar Foundation stands in its commitment to service, promoting equal access to justice since 1964, 60 years later, and we are still on this course. Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. There is still much work to be done, but this city is still number one in my heart. Philadelphia is where I say I got my start. Philadelphia, so rich in its cultures and its art, the city in which I am never alone. Philadelphia, the city that I am proud to call home.
Go ahead, Mary. I love that. Doing work on purpose with purpose. Can we give that a round of applause? That is good. Good turn of phrase there. Thank you so much for your contribution tonight. So an event like this doesn't just happen. It takes months of planning and organization. Melanie Foreman, Jennifer Coatsworth, and Nikki Ingram are the three Bar Foundation trustees who chaired the Access to Justice Award Celebration event committee for this year. They did a phenomenal job, right? Yes? To make this happen. And so let's welcome Melanie, Jen, and Nikki. Thank you for making tonight special. Come on up.
That's the speech. There we go. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out tonight to celebrate access to justice. Tonight, we are here gathered to thank our partners through the legal community and our sponsors for their support. We're also here to raise some money. So our goal here tonight is to raise $25,000. I think we can do it. I know we can do it. So there are some cards on your table with QR codes. You can use that. Or you can text A2J 2023 to 44321. That's A2J 2023 to 44321. So even if you've recently given to the foundation, or your firm or your company did, that is not an excuse. We invite you to continue to give and keep giving, because this is a really special cause that we're here to celebrate tonight. So again, use the QR codes on your table or text A2J 2023 to 44321.
Going off script a little bit here, but how many drinks have you had? Just donate that money. Come on, let's get it. Let's get it done tonight. Thank you so much to Cherry Gregg for being our MC this evening. We are thrilled to have you. And for those who don't know, it's Cherry with an I, Gregg with 2 G's. Thank you also to all of our Unified Giving partners and sponsors, and a special thank you to Michael Stagozzi, Music for All Reasons and Seasons, for his gift of music tonight, and to Botanic Village for the beautiful floral arrangements at your tables this evening. A big thank you to our equity sponsors, AB Data and JND Legal Administration. And a heartfelt thank you to Jessica Hilburn Holmes, the Executive Director of the Bar Foundation. And of course, the entire staff for helping to bring this event together. Thank you so very much.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Nikki Ingram with my fan club, and I want to thank you all for your support of the organization and just for your presence, and of course for the money that you are going to contribute if you haven't done so already. In addition to being a co-chair, I am going to be the president of the Bar Foundation come January. I'm really excited about that. What's particularly exciting is that next year will be the Bar Foundation's 60th anniversary. So there will be lots of opportunities for you and those you know to participate in the organization. Before we go any further, I'd like to thank Meredith Oughton for her 2.5 years of service as president. She's been phenomenal. I'm not quite sure how it happened, but she got me to be president, as I kind of thought I was going off the board, but you know, she's a skilled negotiator. In addition to your applause for Meredith, I invite you again to show your gratitude by texting A2J 2023 to 44-321 to make a donation in Meredith's honor. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce to you by way of video to a true friend of the organization, the 48th Governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro. Governor Shapiro is not able to be with us because of his schedule, but he did want to make sure that he could participate in tonight's gathering. We're thrilled that he thought enough about us to do this. So please, let's watch this video together, and thank you again.
Good evening. I want to thank the Philadelphia Bar Foundation for all the work you've done to expand access to legal defense in our Commonwealth, and your Vice President, Nikki Ingram, for the kind introduction. A special thank you to Cherry Gregg from WHYY for emceeing tonight, and to our Speaker of the House, Madam Speaker, Joanna McClinton, for leading on this issue. You all recognize how crucial the right to adequate legal representation is to our justice system. And for nearly 60 years, you fought for justice in the city, providing generous legal aid and grants to Pennsylvanians to ensure everyone in our Commonwealth receives the representation they are entitled to. Tonight's two honorees, Holland and Knight and Professor Seth Kramer from UPenn, well, they carry out this very mission every single day. When our city saw an influx of asylum seekers last year, the Holland and Knight team stepped up, recruiting 45 attorneys and support staff from 14 offices across the country to work over a dozen individual asylum cases. Professor Kramer has spent his career not only teaching the next generation of public servants, but has also fought to defend Pennsylvanians' fundamental freedoms in our courtrooms. I am proud to congratulate tonight's honorees for their service to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. You have made our city and our Commonwealth proud. As governor, I'm committed to continue our work together to move this Commonwealth forward and make our society more fair and more just. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you so much, Governor Josh Shapiro, for that message. And just so you want to know, you can text A2J 2023 to 44321 to donate, just in case you didn't get that. Now, for our honorees. We are here to celebrate tonight's recipients of the Philadelphia Bar Foundation Award and the Pro Bono Award. We'll start with the Pro Bono Award. I'd like to direct your attention to the screen so you can understand why Holland and Knight is this year's recipient.
In the fall of 2021, during the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan and the evacuation of U.S. personnel, but also Afghan allies, there was an immediate need to serve this population. In our community, between our Lancaster and Harrisburg offices, I believe we resettled slightly over 300 Afghan clients, all of whom needed legal services. And primarily, the immediate need for this population was a need to apply for asylum here in the United States.
They said that there were many former Afghan refugees now resident in the Lancaster area, and that their office was overwhelmed and needed help from lawyers to do the fairly substantial task of assembling the asylum application, of getting interpreters, of getting to know the client, and eventually accompanying the client to an interview with USCIS. And that's how, when we heard that, our office galvanized to try to become involved and help.
The need to serve this population far outstripped what our program and what many programs similar to ours in the area could do. Asylum is a labor-intensive and time-intensive process, and we were talking of dozens and dozens of cases. And this is where, Holland and Knight really stepped in.
Well, we had several challenges. First of all, none of us are immigration lawyers. A couple of us had had some past exposure, but none of us do immigration law during the day. So we had to dig deep and learn the asylum law, and thanks to great support from Christian World Service and HIAS, we were able to do that.
It was very much a learning experience, but also incorporated a lot of the same skills that I normally use day to day, which including coordinating interviews with the client, coordinating translators to be on those calls, preparing the application and any supplemental forms that go along with it, double checking to make sure everything is accurate, proofreading, things like that, and then assisting with the assembly of the package before it goes out.
When we assembled the packages for the applications, it was very tedious. You had to make sure you had an original one of things. You had to have two of something else, original photographs, original documentation, make another additional package that had to get sent with it, time constraints, and just getting it all done and done correctly so that it wasn't rejected.
Secondly, we needed interpreters. These clients are just learning English, and preparation of affidavits, preparation of briefs, other legal documents depend on accuracy. So getting interpreters involved, it is a little bit clumsy to do that, but vital for accuracy.
Some of our clients spoke English. My client did not speak any English and also spoke a dialect in Afghanistan that is a little harder to come by with interpreters. Dealing with your client's trauma and creating, levels of trust with your client, as well as when you don't speak their language, is definitely challenging, and it takes a lot of patience.
We did a lot of research on the conditions in the country at the time. And I would say it was more emotionally taxing, honestly, than intellectually taxing, because you hear all of these stories, and you want to do everything that you can for the client. But sometimes they're asking about family members who were left behind, and asking these difficult questions. And it was definitely emotionally difficult.
Being able to help people, the Afghan asylum refugees were helping the American government. And when the Taliban took over, they were either personally being attacked or their family was getting sought, and they were part of that. So knowing that they're here, we're helping them gain asylum and freedom. And for the first time in my 35-year career, it is actually a life and death that we're helping people stay alive. And that is very rewarding.
Third, we had to marshal the resources of finding lawyers, paralegals, staff, not only from here in the Philly office, but from across our firm to take the cases, and we were able to do that.
Working on this pro bono asylum cases with these Afghan refugees has been a learning experience, a rewarding experience.
The pro bono cases, the asylum work that we've been doing has been very different from my day-to-day, but very interesting and enjoyable.
I feel very lucky to be a part of this process that's hopefully going to be gaining a lot of people access to American society that they need.
Holland and Knight staff have truly taken to these cases, and they have represented our clients, our mutual clients, just as zealously as they would any other client that they're representing through the course of their work at the firm.
This is an approval of the asylum application of the client that my team worked on. And this took over a year to obtain.
We've just submitted our second application for our second client. Our first application, our client has already been granted asylum, which was great news, and we're hoping to get such favorable results with the second one.
I think getting a favorable decision was definitely the biggest reward. Just seeing our work pay off, and talking to our client afterwards, and he was so happy, and he was talking about all of his plans in the future, and just even getting to know him through the process. He's a lovely person, and we, all of us, really wish him the best.
Doing pro bono service like this just gives you a perspective that you're not going to get anywhere else on the value of lawyering, the value of helping people, and what's going on in our world.
Congratulations to Holland and Knight for winning the Philadelphia Bar Foundation's 2023 Pro Bono Award, and it is well earned.
Thank you, Philadelphia Bar Foundation, for awarding Holland and Knight the Pro Bono Award.
On behalf of Holland and Knight and from the Dallas office, I'd like to thank the Philadelphia Bar Foundation for giving us this most honorable award. We're excited to receive it, and looking forward to continuing to doing great, good work.
I want to say thank you to the Philadelphia Bar Foundation for this award. We're excited to do the work that we're doing, and we look forward to continuing to do the asylum work.
I want the Philadelphia Bar Foundation, its trustees, and staff to know how appreciative we are at Holland and Knight for this recognition. We didn't do this to get recognized, but to have your support and your recognition is a shot in the arm and something we'll appreciate forever. So
So inspiring. Let's congratulate Holland and Knight and welcome some of the members of the Holland and Knight Pro Bono program to accept their award.
Thank you. Thank you. It is incredible to be up here in a room with so many iconic leaders in the pro bono field. I want to thank three groups very quickly. First, the Bar Foundation, its trustees and its staff. Meredith, thank you for this. We really appreciate it. As well as Jessica, thank you, and the staff. Thank you for all that you've done for us. It is a shot in the arm. It shows us that our work is important. Second thank you goes to the people in the front lines in the immigration world. They're the heroes. We have one of them with us. You saw him on the screen, Griffin Durling. Where are you, Griffin? Griffin is with Christian World Service in Lancaster. And Griffin has been on the front lines of helping Afghan refugees that were settled in the Lancaster area. He does intake, he does counseling, and his staff has been superb. And the award goes as much to you as to any of us. So thank you, Griffin. Working closely with Griffin are the folks that taught us how to be immigration lawyers. I can't even say I'm a banking lawyer these days, much less an immigration lawyer, but the folks at HIAS were incredible. HIAS. Catherine, who's the executive director, and my non-relative relative, my heroine, Judy Bernstein Baker, who stepped in and taught us what to do, as well as the others there, Jessica Daly. Thank you for that. Third, I want to thank my colleagues who really stepped up. Some couldn't be here. Tracy Quinn is litigation partner who helped run our group. Amy McVeigh, I don't know if she got here yet, another partner that ran our group, and an associate who is going to get an award next week from the Philadelphia Business Journal for her work here, who helped do all of the quality control. Where's Katie Provincial? Katie, thank you. Thank you. A lawyer from our Houston office who flew in not only to be here tonight, but to substitute for me and handle a case in Newark today, Steve McAllister. Thank you. And to show that pro bono doesn't only mean that lawyers are participants, but it means that an entire office can be a participant. Sharon O'Rourke, what a great job. I don't know if I mentioned Kerry Halpern yet, another partner who is extraordinary and taking various cases. Kerry, thank you. And several of our first years, Ellen and Ryan, who stepped in to help us out too. So thank you for being here. I want to reserve my last thank you for the clients. They're the ones who are the heroes here. Our client, Haider Ali, left on that very difficult day, left his family behind, left his mom and his sisters behind, and tried to start a new life in Lancaster. He had to take English as a second language. He had to find a job. He had to go through hours of review of a vast application to get it filed. He had to come with me to an interview in Newark with an immigration official and sit for 3 hours to answer questions about his background. And he had to wait months after that, months, to try to figure out where his life was going to go. All the while talking to his mom back in Kabul, who talked about how the Taliban were looking for him and were banging down the door to get in to force mom and sister to tell them where he and his brothers were. They're the heroes, and they are why we are honored to have this award. Thank you. And I forgot John Devine, our newest Bar Foundation board member. John.
Congratulations again to Holland and Knight and your entire team. It takes a village, doesn't it? Amazing work. Thank you for digging deep to help. It is now time to recognize the recipient of the Philadelphia Bar Foundation Award. This is a prize given in recognition of public interest attorneys who have dedicated their careers to the fight for equal access to justice. Please watch this video in honor of this year's recipient, Professor Seth Kramer.
Seth Kramer could not be more deserving of this important award and honor. As his dean, I can attest to the generations of public interest lawyers who have been trained and mentored by him. His constitutional litigation course is legendary. It's known for being both challenging and vital.
Seth is a model for bridging academia with the world of public interest and social justice. So he was very supportive of having law students do public service work and also very supportive of public interest scholarship.
At the University of Pennsylvania, I learned constitutional law from him, but I was also really lucky as a student to actually co-counsel with him because we were both part of the Women's Law Project team that was then working on the litigation we know as Planned Parenthood versus Casey. Years later, when I joined the ACLU, I found that Seth was, already a long established advisor, partner, co-counsel, co-conspirator for the ACLU and for just lots of the public interest organizations, particularly that do impact work in Philadelphia.
He's been a mentor, an inspiration, a model teacher and scholar, and really a tremendous model for the way he has fused his work in the classroom with impactful public service lawyering.
For every social justice movement that happens in Philadelphia, if you look a little deeper, you see Seth Kramer's name as part of the legal team.
Professor Kramer has been an advocate for people needing assistance with civil rights issues for forever. And when I first started at the Public Interest Law Center, he was providing us with assistance already. And that's how I met him. Just about every area we've worked in, Professor Kramer has been the expert that we go to consult.
Every time I talk to him, I learn something really interesting and really important about the law, about how to practice law, about constitutional rights. His knowledge in this area is absolutely encyclopedic.
And Seth always makes himself accessible, not just 9 to 5. I'm talking evenings, Sundays, holidays. He's very accessible and he gives a lot of very important advice.
It would not at all be unusual for me to ask him a question over email and for me to get back an answer very promptly that was lengthy, detailed, nuanced, with footnotes, Just an amazing response that could be a law review article.
Not unique in my practice, but early in a case that is challenging. You know, one of the first questions is, let's find out what Seth thinks.
He understands what the issues are so well and what needs to be explained. And he, of course, is the premier advocate himself. The time he has spent with us in preparing has been just enormously invaluable.
But we have great admiration for Seth for taking on challenging cases, taking on controversial cases, and giving them the same due diligence, the same review, the same thoughtful consideration as he does with all the work he's been involved in.
And the impact that he has had on the field of women's rights, reproductive rights, LGBTQ equality. It's just the stuff of legend. He deserves this award so much, so richly.
It's hard to point out any one piece of useful advice from Seth Kramer because there is so much. And quite frankly, he's often the person I go to for advice when something is so sensitive that I couldn't share with you what it is he had to tell me about it. But I can assure you it's always very wise and very influential.
So Seth has helped me on every major piece of impact litigation I think I've ever brought.
I am so grateful. Because of you, I am a smarter, more strategic, more effective, and happier litigator in the public interest. And I know that I speak for so many members of the community when I say that.
Wow, it's hard to limit it to just one word. I'll just say brilliant.
A brilliant strategist and a humanitarian.
I have frequently described him as the fairy godfather of my public interest career.
He's the ultimate protector of civil liberties.
Brilliant and impactful.
I also want to say committed.
Invaluable.
Brilliant. He is simply brilliant.
Congratulations, Seth, on this well-deserved honor.
Congratulations, Seth, for a well-deserved award and for always being there for so many of us.
Seth, congratulations on receiving the Philadelphia Bar Foundation Award.
Seth, congratulations on winning this award. You so deserve it, and I'm so happy, and I know everyone in my office and throughout the public interest community congratulates you and cheers you and thanks you so much for all the assistance over these years. It's an award well deserved.
Congratulations, Seth. You could not be more deserving of this important honor, and I'm just so pleased for you.
Congratulations, Seth. Thank you so much for what you've done for me and for the women of Pennsylvania. And congratulations on getting the Philadelphia Bar Award.
Seth, congratulations on your well-deserved receipt of the Philadelphia Bar Foundation Award this year. You make all of us who know you and this institution very proud, and we appreciate the work you do. Congratulations.
Wonderful. And I have to say, Professor Kramer, I still have your cell phone number. Called him many times covering social justice, and he does respond pretty quickly. You know the deadlines we have. So to see your impact in doing this amazing work is truly an honor to just be here. Can we please give a warm welcome as we invite Professor Seth Kramer to the stage to receive the Philadelphia Bar Foundation Award.
I was told I would get the opportunity to give a rebuttal. When I was growing up in Pittsburgh, my father was a bankruptcy attorney during the day and a civil rights activist on nights and weekends. One of the things he made him most proud was his work during the 1960s that combined the two roles. He trained young legal services attorneys on ways to keep their clients from being pushed around by rapacious finance companies. When I started practice in Philadelphia in 1979, the partners of the firm that I worked on, Aaron Fine, Arthur Kaplan, Alan Black, encouraged me to become a cooperating attorney with the ACLU and to begin work with the Women's Law Project. My father was gratified. He was tentatively proud, though a bit perplexed, when I left practice to go to become a member of the faculty at the University of Pennsylvania Law School. And he was gratified again that Penn Law allowed me to continue to work with those and with other members of the community of Philadelphia attorneys working to bend the moral arc of the universe towards justice. I've been honored to work with lawyers from Community Legal Services, from the Public Interest Law Center, from the Educational Law Center, the AIDS Law Project, the Institutional Law Project, and others. And my father understood the joy of nurturing and supporting students and young attorneys to join those efforts. My father used to say that you don't need good lawyers for easy cases, and many of the cases I've worked on over the years have not been easy ones. Fortunately, the lawyers I have worked with have been great lawyers. To name only a few, Dave Rudofsky and Paul Messing taught me cases challenging police abuse and racial profiling and drug testing. Steve Gold shared his wisdom in representing homeless folk and disabled plaintiffs and student protesters. Michael Churchill provided unyielding commitment and strategic insight in the fight for fair school funding. And Stephen Presser, of memory, was a guiding light representing more clients than I can count. Even better, I've had the chance to work with and learn from fine lawyers that I first taught as law students. Again, a few highlights, truncated for time, I won't reach everybody. Sharon Dietrich and Jamie Gullen at Community Legal Services invited me to share fights to secure the rights of clients unfairly denied public benefits and deprived of opportunities to earn a living. John Feinberg called on me to assist on wrongful detention, racial profiling, immigrants' rights, police abuse cases. John Grogan helped me to share in representing homeless and indigent and immigrant plaintiffs. Alana Eisenstein invited me to help work to provide treatment and to prevent overdoses in Philadelphia. And Mary Catherine Roper, who spoke with excessive generosity, has been a firm anchor and skillful guide in litigation efforts almost without number. These have been decades where there have not been easy cases, but these extraordinary lawyers and others I've been privileged to work with have won many of them. But I want to talk a little about cases that have been lost. I want to mention three areas. Cases involving same-sex intimacy, cases involving fair school funding, cases involving reproductive autonomy. In 1986, I filed an ACLU amicus brief supporting the efforts of the Philadelphia Human Relations Commission to end Temple University's cooperation with military recruiters who maintain, quote, homosexuality is incompatible with military service. We lost. It was a loss that was dwarfed by the loss of a case brought by other lawyers in the US Supreme Court. In Bowers against Hardwick in that year, 5 justices of the Supreme Court characterized the claim that the Constitution protected same-sex intimacy as, quote, facetious. But in states and localities and boardrooms and living rooms and courtrooms, the struggle for equality continued. According to reliable reports, shortly before Justice Lewis Powell cast the deciding vote against gay rights in Bowers against Hardwick, he commented to his law clerk that he didn't think he'd ever met a gay person. That lawyer was a closeted gay man. In 2002, a decade and a half later, I worked with the Women's Law Project on a case in which the Pennsylvania Supreme Court recognized the right of same-sex parents to form families by second-parent adoption. The courage and dedication of a generation of lawyers and teachers and laborers and office workers and daughters and sons and cousins made it impossible for the members of that court to profess the ignorance like Justice Powell's. And 10 years later, in 2014, I was honored to join ACLU lawyers representing the plaintiffs in Whitewood versus Wolf, establishing the right of marriage equality in Pennsylvania. Now, the work is not over, and we don't always win. In 2021, lawyers for the city of Philadelphia, and I filed an amicus brief in that case, were rebuffed by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court when they sought to defend a requirement that adoption agencies in Philadelphia treat same-sex families equally. But the curve of the moral arc of the universe is clear. The second area began for me in 1999 when Michael Churchill invited me to file an amicus brief in a case brought by the Public Interest Law Center challenging the scandalously unequal funding of public schools in Pennsylvania. It's inconsistent with our Pennsylvania Constitution. The case lost. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court dismissed the argument, and the students of Pennsylvania's underfunded school districts languished. But the lawyers at the Public Interest Law Center persisted, and Michael Churchill was joined by a new generation. Dan Urovic-Acklesberg, who's sitting out there. I never actually got to teach Dan, but he's a Penn Law alum, brought another case. And this time in 2017, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court heard it and listened and reversed itself. And early this year, the Commonwealth Court ruled that the Pennsylvania school funding system is unconstitutional and must be reformed. That reform effort is going to be the next struggle. It's not over. The third area is women's right to reproductive autonomy. In 1981, as a newly minted lawyer, I joined with attorneys at the Women's Law Project, invoking Pennsylvania's Equal Rights Amendment. We sought to retain for indigent women in Pennsylvania the opportunity to have their reproductive medical care supported by Pennsylvania's Medicaid program, whether they chose to give birth or to terminate their pregnancies. The US Supreme Court had rejected the claim under the US Constitution. The lawyers I worked with managed to preserve the rights of women in Pennsylvania for 3 years, but ultimately we lost. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court followed the US Supreme Court. Over the next 10 decades, I worked with the Women's Law Project and took some solace in 1992 when the US Supreme Court in Planned Parenthood against Casey reaffirmed the right of women throughout the country to choose their reproductive futures without undue burden. A year and a half ago, 5 justices of the Supreme Court in Dobbs stripped away that right. The next generation of lawyers is back in the Pennsylvania Supreme Court and joining other advocates around the country to try to bend the arc again. The struggle to bend the moral arc of the universe continues. My generation has left the next generation more to do than we had hoped. But this is what I've learned over 4 decades. Progress sometimes comes because good lawyers win hard cases. And often it comes because good people take hard positions. The joy of the work that the Bar Foundation has honored by this award is that I've been able to share the struggle with students and comrades and clients who are both good lawyers and good people. I thank them. I thank the Bar Foundation.
Thank you for your words, Professor Seth Kramer. Can we give him another round of applause? Thank you for your brilliant legal service and for taking on those hard cases. I am now pleased to invite back Jen Coatsworth, who will introduce our keynote speaker.
Thank you, Cherry. Once again, I'm here to remind you, again, those cards are on your table. Don't forget to contribute, or you can text A2J2023 to 44321. So don't forget to contribute. But now it's my real honor and privilege to introduce our keynote speaker tonight, the Speaker of the House, Joanna McClinton. Jo grew up in Southwest Philadelphia in a multi-generational household where she was influenced by the determination and lived experiences of both her mother and her grandmother. And she quickly learned the value of public service. She went on to earn a bachelor's degree in political science and leadership in global understanding from LaSalle University in 2003 and a Juris Doctor from Villanova University School of Law in 2006. She became a practicing attorney and served 7 years as a public defender, and for 2 years as chief counsel to State Senator Anthony Hardy Williams. She then won a special election to the House of Representatives on August 11th of 2015, and she was sworn in shortly thereafter. She was then re-elected to the House for 4 additional consecutive terms. As a member of the House of Representatives, Speaker McClinton championed voting reform, equality measures, and violence prevention. During her tenure as the Speaker, the House adopted the most robust set of operating rules in more than a generation, ensuring that all voices are heard on the issues, that constitutional amendments are vetted through a public hearing before ending up on the ballot. And she also worked on expanding anti-discrimination and anti-harassment protections for everyone who does not work within the legislature. She was the first woman elected as Speaker. She was the first woman to serve as Democratic Caucus Chair, the first woman elected floor leader on either party, and she has served as the Democratic leader from 2020 to 2023, before she was elected as the 141st Speaker of the House on February 28th of 2023. Now, I can't remember when I first met Jo, but I know it was through our mutual friend, the late, great Amber Racine. And she and Jo always joked about how they were sisters. And those who know both of them know how much alike they really are. They're both phenomenal stars whose light is blinding. I am so glad to consider Jo a friend, and I'm also incredibly proud to see all the work that she has accomplished. Under her leadership, I have a vast amount of hope for Pennsylvania. She brings a sense of calm whenever I hear her speak, and I'm sure she's going to do the same for you. I know that we're all excited to hear what she has to say, so without further ado, I welcome Speaker McClinton.
Thank you, Jen. And congratulations to every honoree. I'm so appreciative to be here for this very important occasion. I'm so excited to support the Philadelphia Bar Foundation, which way back when I was glad to be a recipient many, many moons ago, to have the support as a public interest lawyer. There's a very exceptional group of attorneys here tonight who are committed to making Philadelphia a much better place, a place that's more fair, more just, more equitable, and that lives up to the ideals of justice that's at the heart of our Constitution. A lot of it was, of course, envisioned right here in our city, in our Commonwealth, the birthplace of democracy and of our nation. And like you, so many times I've been fortunate enough to have opportunities in my career to give back, especially in my legal career. And I also want to acknowledge all of the folks who are not public interest lawyers, but are supporting the work that the Bar Foundation does and supporting so many different righteous ideals in whichever way you practice. When we see the things that are going on across the nation, it seems that there is one crisis after another. When we see the challenges we have right here in this place that has been my home for 4 decades, we see one crisis after another. And there are different moments where it seems as if these challenges are simply insurmountable, when things will never be fair and never be right. And I can recall at the young age of 22 years old, getting an offer to be at a place where I'd spent my last semester in law school to work at the Defender Association of Philadelphia. And I was so very excited because unlike most of you who had it all together, I was one of those law students figuring it out day by day. Always wanted to be a lawyer, always wanted to make the world better, but never quite knew what job that would actually happen on, when it would occur, and how it would in fact work out. My first semester, my first summer at law school, I was thrilled to start my legal career at Regional Housing Legal Services and learn about the need throughout our city, especially for there to be housing where people can afford to live, and how folks doing that were being face to face with so many obstacles, predominantly in the government. Red tape, bureaucracies, no signs, stop signs, and how difficult that journey was. My next summer, it was so exciting to finally get into a courtroom. I never thought I would be in one, because when I was an undergrad student doing an internship at our district attorney's office, I said, I'll never come back here. But the summer of 2005, what did I say? Good morning, Your Honor. Joanna McClinton here for the Commonwealth. And it was very, very exciting. And I was thrilled to have the first person I saw walking in here, Jeremy Mankiewicz, who seems to have the youth juice because he looks exactly the same as he did in the summer of 2005. Meanwhile, I won't talk about myself. But after being in court for a summer, recognizing that I enjoyed standing up, speaking on behalf of others, and recognizing that our court system was exhilarating and full of challenges, I also recognized that notwithstanding the joy that that summer brought, I personally, and especially at that time in our city in 2005, didn't feel that I was on the right team for me, for my values, and for the way I had been raised. And I recall a pastor in my community saying, why haven't you thought about being a public defender? People need help. Why would you lock them up and throw away the key? And I said, well, it didn't really sit right with me, to be honest. But you know, what do you do when you're looking for opportunities, trying to see what is my path and how can I improve these challenges that we're facing concurrently? And I'm so grateful that my last semester of law school, while complaining to my advisor about having too many finals, how dare they? I should be over that by third year last semester. I said, I need to get rid of one of these finals or classes, you might know them as. And she said, well, you should sign up to do an externship. How about you do it here or there? And all the places she pointed me, I said, that's not going to work. And I said, what about the Philadelphia Defender? And she said, well, Joanna, they have the first internship with Villanova, because we're not Temple, and they only took 2 students. And I said, well, they need to take a third. And she said, oh, okay, I'll see what we can do about it. But I'm so glad they took a third student. So glad. Because it was coming down to that office that I found myself back in court on my feet, having a good time, but most importantly, for my values, especially in that time, to be able to know that I was making a difference even when the cases weren't ready and they weren't called. And for the next several years, being able to start my career there, recognizing that with all of the concurrent external crises that were happening, I could go on the Market Frankfurt L from my home, a regional rail train, and a nice lengthy walk to State Road behind several doors and sit next to someone who was having a much harder time than I could ever dream. Finding themselves being both living in deep poverty and being accused of very serious crimes with so much hanging in the balance. It's when I was a public defender, not a lawmaker, that I found one false arrest can cost you so much that you work for, whether that's your housing, whether that's custody of your children, whether that's your job. It takes only one night in prison that your entire trajectory can change. And it can only take one yearning to be out of that condition and circumstances, regardless of your guilt or innocence, that can put you on a path to having a criminal record, putting many, many closed doors in your face. And because of the journey at 1441 Sansom and family court and adult court with judges, with juries, I started to recognize that so much more needed to be done beyond what my capacity was with one green file at a time. And how could I figure out how to better help people when everything seemed to be systemic? The problem is with the system. It's much bigger than one courtroom number or one case or one mandatory minimum or one school zone enhancement hanging over someone's head, getting them to plead guilty when perhaps they weren't even there. I recall the last time I was in front of a jury and how quickly that jury on a Friday convicted my client, but how 2 years later, I picked up the Daily News and saw the star witness for that case in federal court, having been indicted for violating the oath he took to protect and uphold citizens in Philadelphia and to serve with integrity. There had been none. And when I was standing next to that gentleman and I would talk to him over and over again, and when I'd done a pretrial motion days before the trial, the judge even said to me, "Ms. McClinton, something's fishy here," right before the motion was denied. You can laugh, it's a joke, because that person is now out of state custody. And that person, unlike the people I just sat next to down at Penn Law School in the Quattrone Center, they didn't lose 40 years of their lives to wrongful conviction. That person, fortunately enough, was able to see freedom because of some hard work by our federal agents to bring out the truth of what was going on in that narcotics unit at the time. But there's still so much work to be done. So when I got to Harrisburg, the first bill that I started working on, and it took, guess what, 5 years to pass, was to be able to get more crimes included in our expungement law. It was to get, for there to be automatic expungements. It seemed very odd to me to chase someone out of a courtroom who was found not guilty and tell them, I'm flagging this for an expungement and you're going to get some paperwork and you're going to have to sign it. It seemed like too many steps. It seemed like once again, the burden was on the wrong side of the courtroom. So although I introduced that in 2015 and it took until 2020 to get it to, at the time, Governor Wolf's desk, I'm proud to know that in different spaces, we can find our voices, we can stand up, we can be bold, unafraid, and most importantly, we can change the systems that seem to be broken. So I challenge all of you tonight, wherever you are on your path. Maybe you're like me with a couple of events on one Thursday night, but whatever you have after this event, think very seriously over this holiday weekend in which we recognize those who've served among us and celebrate the veterans among us. What are you doing day by day in your current journey to address one of these crises? Are you mentoring youth? Are you participating in the Bar Association's public interest activities? Are you active with whatever affinity bar you participate in? What are you doing? Each of us has an obligation. we don't get a pass. Shirley Chisholm said, the rent that we pay for being on this earth is service. And I can't speak for all of you, but I can certainly say that it was lawyers at a corporate law firm that took time to meet with 14-year-old Joanna McClinton that helped me to be where I am at 41 years old. So don't think that the little role or the little time you have spending with someone, whether it's mentoring them or giving to the Bar Foundation or making sure that all the different organizations that we're supporting have the support they need to be taken seriously. There is a role for each of us to play. And while I thought at many times in my life, I was simply meandering, trying to figure out one opportunity after the next and what could work out and am I making a difference and can I change the world? I found out the answer is if we all work together, each of us can do something to make a positive change. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Speaker McClinton. Can we give her another round of applause? Do you feel lifted? Yes, thank you for your uplifting words, for your passion, and for your purposeful hard work and your service. And I want to say congratulations again to Professor Seth Kramer and to Holland and Knight, and to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. Please remember that the Philadelphia Bar Foundation's grant making is sustained by your generosity, and it's needed now more than ever. So please donate. And do you want me to read the text? I won't do it. But we are so grateful for your continued support of advancing equal access to justice in Philadelphia. I'm Cherry Gregg. Thank you all for having me tonight. Thank you all for joining us. Please enjoy dessert and continue your conversations. Have a wonderful night.